Steve and his friend Jeff were driving to work where they had worked as scientists at an animal testing facility. They were supposed to be just testing various products, but thanks to their genetic research, they had been secretly doing tests on animals to see if they could bring about frontal lobe growth, and hopefully, they would start talking. Steve and Jeff loved to have this conversation about what they would say if the animals could talk. Steve began the conversation by saying, I hope they have a great sense of humor. Our Dachshund would definitely be funny. And anyways, he's been watching TV all these years, so you know what he's going to be able to talk about, and he's going to be able to talk a lot because he's been watching that TV. The Dachshund that Steve was referring to be the pet that was kept in the office of the researchers. He was subject number 1 for frontal lobe growth experiments. The dog was simply named Dax and was a Dachshund. Dax was very cute, happy, and always loved to see his friends show up. Jeff then chimed in the conversation with, "Be careful what you wish for. What would the pit bulls and the Dobermans have to say?" They both laughed pretty hard at that one, but then felt kind of uneasy for a second. They finally got to work and made it to their lab to see their trusty friend Dax in his clear glass enclosure. Dax was happy to see his friends. Since it was also time for breakfast, Stephen and Jeff brought over his dog food and slid it through an opening. Dax then took a sniff at it and then started barking hysterically, and then finally at his last bark, a single word came out. It was just a simple word, barf. Each time he tried to bark, he kept saying barf. He then blurted out, "This food is absolutely terrible. I want Taco Bell." Steve and Jeff looked at each other with an amazement that you would only see once in your life. They had finally found one virus to alter the DNA of the Dachshund. The Dachshund then looked at Steve and Jeff and said, "Oh my God, bras, I can talk." The president of the company that oversaw all the experiments had a security camera in the room and noticed his 2 favorite researchers were kneeling next to the glass cage and were talking to the dog. The president thought this was odd and just out of curiosity decided to monitor the microphone of the security camera. The president then noticed what he thought he would never see in his entire life, which was a dog having a conversation with humans. The president was a very wealthy billionaire, an elderly old man who was operating on 3 to 4 brain cells. He thought for a moment that the dog had been bred to talk and that he would kidnap the dog, take him home, and breed him too,